Is very pleased to co-host this event tonight with the Carlsbad Unified Council of PTAs. Special thank you to Shauna Hurst, the president of Carlsbad Unified Council of PTAs, for all her help in putting this together and promoting it. Yes. So tonight we have 2 candidates in 3 different districts for Carlsbad School Board, Area 1, Area 4, and Area 5. Their nameplates, as you can see, have their name and then which area that they are seeking to serve for. The format tonight, each candidate is going to give an opening statement, which will be 90 seconds long and timed. And we've asked them to share during that opening statement why they feel they are qualified to serve as a school board trustee. Then we have several questions that have been pre-prepared tonight that they will get 60 seconds to answer. And then we have some yes-no questions. We've given them all these just super aesthetically pleasing panels that say yes or no, so that they can hold up their answer when we get to that. And then lastly, you, the audience, can submit questions. We've left some time at the end for that. To submit a question, it does need to be in writing. And we have notepads and pens. We have volunteers on this side and then in the back on that side if you would like to submit a question. And if you were in here earlier, you heard me say this, but if you just got here in the last 5 minutes, we're not taking questions that single out candidate A or candidate B, so write your question so it can be asked in general to all 6 candidates if you want to have a chance for it to get asked tonight. And then we have a team that will be going through those and trying to help us assemble those so we can get through as much content as possible. Now, with that being said, as much content as possible, we want to be very respectful tonight. We recognize some of you are here probably in support of candidate A or B, and that's great. We don't want any booing, please. That's just not the kind of forum we want to run. I also want to encourage you to keep your cheering to a minimum, and here's why. They are being timed on their answers, so every time they have to pause and allow for your applause to end, you just took time from your candidate that you're supporting, in all honesty. So, speaking of being timed, candidates, right here in the front row, we have Susan, and Susan will serve as our timekeeper tonight. And so as I pointed out, you'll have different times that I'll share with you and remind you as we start on a question. So when you get to having 30 seconds left, you'll see Susan hold up that beautiful blue sign, and then you get to 15 seconds, and then you get to stop! So keep your eye on Susan. She will help guide you as you go through the questions. And please, no holding up campaign signs during this event. I know some of you have them. That's great. You can share them and pass them out afterwards and support your candidate, but not during the forum. We would appreciate it. So to start with, we are going to start off, and we will rotate and take turns who gets to go first on each question. So to start off with the intros, we will start here with Michelle, and the forum, it's yours. Here we go.
I'll stand because I'm a little short.
Hold it out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Tsurugawa Ward, and I'm running for Carlsbad Unified School Board District 1. And I am a parent of 2 great kids who have went through elementary, middle, and high school in Carlsbad, graduated from Carlsbad High School. I've also been in education for 20 years, lived in the community for 20 years, taught in Carlsbad at Jefferson Elementary and Calavera Hills Elementary School as well. And I was an assistant principal in Vista Unified at a middle school. I am now a site principal at an elementary school in Poway Unified. I've also worked with the Carlsbad Ed Foundation as a board member, and the Carlsbad Ed Foundation as a student leadership council mentor, supporting both Sage Creek and Carlsbad High School students. I've also worked with principals throughout the state of California to form the California Association for Asian and Pacific Leaders in Education. I know this work. I do it every day. I work with stakeholders, I work with parents, communities all the time. This work is something that's very comfortable to me. I believe in public education. It's near and dear to my heart. Gives everybody an opportunity, gives all students an opportunity to ensure that we have strong, healthy communities. Thank you. Vote for me on November 8th.
Hello everyone, I'm Sharon McKeeman and I'm also running for Carlsbad Unified School Board here in District 1. I am a mother of 4. I have one that just graduated and then I have 3 that are still in the school district, one that is starting in kinder. So we are in it for the long haul. At the same time I have a lot of experience with my kids going through the school system. My husband has served his country for 20 years in the military. And so service is a really important part of our family. He just retired, and I have also been involved in education for 20 years. I have my degree in art education. I have taught in the public school system. I have also owned an online school, and I have been involved in charter schools. I have been involved in hybrid education with my students, and currently I have several learning initiatives that are helping students recuperate from the social, emotional, and academic impact of the last couple of years and all the challenges. I also founded a successful nonprofit, so I've worked with school boards, with parents to make sure that parents have a voice, students are put first, and educators are supported. So everything in my life is about children and education. I have a lot of experience and I would love to be able to serve you all in this way. And I'm really excited about the dialogue and the conversation that we're going to have here tonight. Thank you guys, and I hope that you will vote for me.
Hi, my name, are we on? Yeah. I'd like to thank the Chamber and the PTA and all of you for being here tonight. My name is Gretchen, and I'm running for school board in Area 4. And I'm running because the trustee in my area is retiring, and my community asked me to run. I was raised by 2 hardworking adults, parents, who value ethical and moral standards, hard work, quality education, dedication to community, and compassion to others. After I completed 2 graduate degrees here in Southern California, my husband and I made Carlsbad our home 22 years ago because of having its reputation of having great schools. We have raised our 2 children here. One's graduated from Carlsbad High and one is currently at Carlsbad High. I'm a small business owner and a wellness educator for the past 20 years. I started my career as a consultant to the Navy, the County of San Diego. I've worked with the California Department of Health and the California Department of Aging, collaborating with faculty at SDSU, UCSD, San Diego Community College, building curriculum and operation manuals that focus on safe and effective wellness programs for older adults throughout the state of California. I continue to provide quality assurance to the county by overseeing and training our instructors how to safely and work with older adults. I've dedicated my life to being a community volunteer here, especially on the PTA, for over 15 years, both in the classroom and outside the classroom.
Okay, you're out of time.
I'm out of time. Well, I can talk more later if you'd like to talk with me.
Hi everybody. Oh, it is on. My name is Jen. I am running for school board here in District 4 as well. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Very much appreciate it. I am a mom. I'm a mom of 2 amazing children who are both in Carlsbad schools, Carlsbad High School. I'm also an education advocate, nonprofit. I've worked in the nonprofit field for over 30 years. Can't believe I can say that. But I have worked up and down the state of California, in the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Fresno, Long Beach, all on behalf of young people to ensure that they would have access to educational opportunities and safe learning spaces. Primarily working in under-resourced communities. About 15 years ago, my husband and I moved down to Southern California, relocated. And I had spent many hours working and visiting schools and districts across the state. And I made sure that before we bought our home, I would make sure to investigate the schools. And it was at my tour of Pacific Rim where I met Mr. Devich, and it was very clear that this was the place that I wanted to educate my children. I quickly became involved and was the president of the PTO, raised over $1 million for our school sites. I'm now a board member of the Carlsbad Ed Foundation and continue to focus my energies and all of my work in making sure that children have access to education, enrichment, and programs. Thank you so much.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you taking time out of your evening to participate in this forum, and thank you to the Chamber for your hosting this and for your partnership with the Rising Star program. And also for our PTA, our schools would not run as successfully as they do without our PTA, so thank you for being co-host as well. And I really appreciate, again, you all being here. My name is Kathy Rawlings, and I'm running for re-election for trustee in Trustee Area 5, which actually goes from all the way from the Oceanside area in Tri-City by the DMV, all the way down to this area here, ends at La Costa. So we do have some strange district boundaries, but that's where I am running from. My hope is to continue on the board. I'm also a mother as well as a longtime homeowner. So I'm very invested in these in the schools. I've been on the board for 8 years, and my hope is to continue providing clear, responsible, experienced leadership on the board. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is sustainability issues. When I ran in 2014, I committed to getting solar panels on all of our schools, and I think they finally arrived. My hope is that we can get 100% renewable electricity in our schools, as well as career pathways is something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and my hope is that we can help our communities by making sure our students are college and career ready. Thank you.
I'll go last. So my name is Scott Davison. I'm running in Area 5 with Kathy. I'm a parent, I'm a patent attorney. I have a son at Sage Creek High School. I moved to Carlsbad in 2006 with my wife, who's a CHS grad, and very easily convinced me to move to Carlsbad, and because of our great community and public schools. And there happened to be a Chick-fil-A down the street. I'm running for school board because I fought to reopen our schools, and I saw the harm that it was causing. And so now that our schools are reopened, you can see the harm that our children have suffered academically, socially, and emotionally. And we need a school board that is absolutely 100% committed to acknowledging that harm and to helping our students recover, whatever it takes. The other thing that we need to do is we need to restore trust and faith in our public schools, because we had over 600 families leave our public schools during the pandemic, and they haven't come back, and they're still here. We owe it to them to bring them back and help them recover as well. And then finally, I'm running to restore trust in our school board, because we need independent school board members who aren't employed by or either paid by the teachers union. And we need to understand that the teachers union represents the best interest of the teachers, the school board represents the best interest of the students. Sometimes those overlap, sometimes they don't. And so we need to make sure we have independent school board members that represent our
First question, we're going to start with you, Sharon, this time, and then we'll go right down the line and then come back to Michelle. First question, you have 60 seconds on these questions, guys. What do you see as the primary work of the Board of Trustees? What do you see as the primary work of the Board of Trustees?
Well, the primary work is to put students first and to represent those who have elected them. And that's why I've been going door to door in the community, meeting parents, hearing their concerns, meeting grandparents. And over the past 2 years, there were a lot of parents that did not feel that their family's needs were met. They did not feel that they were being listened to, and there were a lot of concerns, especially when it comes to reopening schools. I was also part of advocating to make sure that we safely reopened. Of course, we absolutely need to be supporting our educators as well. That's incredibly important. We're overseeing the budget. We're making sure that educators are, well equipped, and that the curriculum and the programs are all focused on excellence in education. We need excellence in education, not politics, in our academic communities. But if I sum it up in one thing, it's students first, and that's what you'll see on every sign, every t-shirt. It's all about our kids.
The role of a school board member, again, like Sharon said, is to provide a great place for students to be educated, a quality education for our students. And parents need to be brought to that table, and I'm one of those parents because I know what it feels like to feel marginalized over the last 2 years. I've seen the academic loss, the emotional struggle in my own home with my own students. I've helped my own students get back on track, and I want to help all of our students get back on track. So we need to address the academic loss, provide quality education, address the concerns of you as our community with regard to mental health issues, safety issues with the e-bikes on and off our campuses. And we need to also look at fiscal responsibility, being able to manage budgets well, and not have special interests come in and modify how we assess these priorities in our education system.
The primary work of the Board of Trustees, as a board member at Carlsbad Ed Foundation and having worked with the district over the years, it's become pretty clear to me that the folks that sit on the board are very interested in wanting to make sure that young people are supported and are learning, and they do put them first and foremost, and that's what I would do as a trustee as well. There is so many opportunities and ways for parents to be involved. The transparency of that process is maybe something that we need to focus on to make sure that there's opportunities for them to do more of that. But certainly the work of the trustees is to ensure that we're catching those kiddos that are not doing as well in school as we had hoped that they would be doing, putting those supports into place, making sure that we have the finances to do that, and ensuring that we're all working together toward that end. Our teachers are a big part of that. We want to make sure that all together we're working across stakeholder groups. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As the only incumbent on the stage, I can say from first-hand experience that really a huge part of the board is to provide citizen oversight of the school board, of the school district and their employees and our staff and our teachers. That's our primary goal. And a big part of that is being a fiduciary. And being a fiduciary means that you have to safeguard the taxpayer dollars that come into this district, which is about $145 million. And so we do have to protect our students, but we also have to protect our employees, and we have to protect our communities and our taxpayers. During some of the concern around reopening, what would have happened if we defied public health orders would be that we would have huge liabilities, which would put our dollars at risk. We would also put credentials of teachers and staff at risk. And so, in my view, we have the obligation to protect all of our community and our taxpayers and our voters. Thank you.
And I actually agree with Kathy. I think the role of the school board is oversight. The school board needs to be giving direction to the school district on what it should be doing, what it should be focusing on. So in this case, if I am elected to the school board, we need to focus primarily on academics, on helping our students recover and making sure that our district understands whether or not they are and whether or not we need to pour more resources into helping them. If you were at the board meeting last month, they're not recovering. And so we need a board that instead of just looks at the numbers, and says, okay, great, we need a board that's more proactive. I think in the past, our school board has been considering this a part-time job and hasn't really put the focus that they needed to into the state of emergency that we've been in. And so, my goal would be, we need school board members that understand the legality, they understand that we were required to reopen schools, that we were required to give our students in-person instruction and know what those legal requirements and that liability really means.
Okay, I think the hard part is going last, right? Says something. Okay. I first want to say that I'm so proud that my kids went through Carlsbad Unified. We have excellent teachers, and the district is fantastic. So I'm so proud that my kids came out of Carlsbad Unified. The job of the school board is to oversee policy and programs, and to ensure that we're listening to our stakeholder groups, and to make sure that we are ensuring the best for our students. So I think we all across the board agree on that point. I also want to make sure, as a school board member, is to make sure that we're looking at our budget and that we are spending it wisely and soundly to support all of our students. And lastly, I also want to ensure that we're working with organizations like Moms Demand Action, making sure that we have safe learning environments. So hoping to work with organizations outside of the school district as well.
So Gretchen, we'll start with you this time and do the same thing. We'll go down and then loop back. So here's your question. All 6 of your campaign websites, in some way or another, claim that you want what is best for CUSD students. So what is it that you think is best for those students, and how do you plan to accomplish this? Go ahead.
What a great question. I think what's best for our students is to provide resources that they need to get caught up, to be students that are going to leave our district and be productive citizens that are going to be competitive in this world. They're going to not only have the academics, but they're also going to have support from our community to be the greatest citizens possible. And how do I plan on doing this? Well, I plan on doing this by bringing parents to the table to discuss what their needs are as students, bringing teachers to the table. Our educators are a very important part of this because they're seeing what's going on in the classroom. They're witnessing the behavior issues that we need to be dealing with as well from the last 2 years. So I think it's bringing all of these people to the table and discussing how we can move forward in a better way.
When we talk about what we want, what is best for our students going forward, when you talk to students, they tell us that they want an opportunity to master skills. They would like an opportunity to explore and try new different things, explore the world of work, explore different career pathways beyond the core curriculum that's available to them. So I think it's really important that we're listening to our students, we're listening to the parents, of course, and we're listening to our teachers tell us about what's happening on the school sites, happening on campus. I want to ensure that kids are graduating and moving into something that they're passionate about, excited about, that they've had an opportunity to explore what those things could be. I also want to make sure that those resources are in place in order for them to be able to do that. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. What I truly believe is what's best for students is that we do create the environment that they can explore their interests and explore their passions. I do believe that having a highly qualified teacher in every classroom is a huge part of student success, as well as creating true reality opportunities. One of the examples is something I've been fighting for on the board is I have a hard time with Algebra 2, and I have a hard time helping my son with Algebra 2, and so one of the things that we are going to be offering next year is financial algebra, which actually gives a real-world spin on the reality that we have that we need to be able to have some life skills. Also, I want to make sure that our students have a planet that they can actually live in and that they can actually thrive in. And so I do believe that our schools need to model and be a part of the sustainability future that is necessary for them to have that world.
And I would say what we need to focus on is core academics. Is if you look at the math proficiency, our English language proficiency, look at our science proficiency, they dropped significantly. And if we don't get kids reading by 3rd grade, they're not going to be successful for the rest of their school program. And we have kids that are graduating right now that aren't even proficient in math and English and science, right? And so if we don't even get them caught back up, they're not going to be successful in whatever career or college they pick. And the other problem with that is, we know, I've talked to the teachers are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed trying to get these kids caught up. So we've got to deploy resources. We've got to do high dosage tutoring. We've got to introduce the science of reading. We've got to improve our curriculum. We've got to improve our counseling resources. If we can hire more teachers, hire more tutors, whatever it takes, we've got to focus on the fundamentals, get our kids caught back up, and then allow them to succeed in everything else that we hope that they can do in their careers and in college and beyond.
Okay, what's best for our kids? Well, what's best for our kids is to ensure that they are ready for their future. And how do we do that? Well, we want to make sure that they are ready, like Jen said, for the world of work. To work with organizations like the Carlsbad Ed Foundation that are working with industry leaders to know the direction that our students need to go. We also want to make sure that they are getting what they need in class every day with reading, writing, math, and to provide them with all of those skills. And we are doing that here in Carlsbad Unified. We are doing that in public education, and we are giving students the opportunity to have extraordinary experiences through unique pathways and innovation, and we are setting up our kids so they can be ready for that future. So we want to continue with that work. Also with some of the loss from COVID, we want to look at...
Right time there.
Well, I will say that the reason that we moved to Carlsbad is because it is best for our family. These schools are absolutely incredible, but I will also say that what is best for our students at this point is new leadership, and I'm not afraid to say that. The funding for the arts and tech programs have been cut. There needs to be a focus on those core academics. We need to make sure that we're not straying into any curriculum that is divisive. And, you know, I'm going to go out there and say that the other thing that is really important that you need to think about that is best for our students is having trustees up here that will support educators, represent students and parents, but when the teachers union asks for something that is not in the best interest of students, having a trustee that will not bow to that will be able to negotiate and, you know, communicate with them, but stand for what is best for students, bottom line.
Jen, you'll start the next. I can tell you're grabbing the mic already. That's great. Okay, so candidates, we have like 3 mini parts to this question, so I'll read it through twice. And if, of course, you need to repeat it later, that's totally fine. What are your thoughts on Carlsbad Unified School District's programs for special ed students, English language learners, and gifted students? So, special ed, English language learners, gifted students. What are your thoughts on how Carlsbad Unified programs are in those 3 areas? And we'll start with Jen whenever you're ready.
Well, to the degree that I'm familiar with all of those 3, I don't have children that are participating in special education nor in ELL, but I do know that Carlsbad Unified is known for providing supports and access to special education support. As a matter of fact, I have a neighbor whose child recently availed themselves of resources at our local elementary school, even without being enrolled. As a public school system, we provide those services to our community residents. I also know that within our classroom structures, we have opportunities for students that are high achieving. Teachers have structured their classrooms so that they could differentiate instruction to ensure that students that want the challenge, that want more, are provided an opportunity for that, where then students that need additional support also are provided this, supports in that system. It's not necessarily called gifted, but it is certainly an opportunity for students to be challenged.
Well, that's a lot, 60 seconds, I gotta tell you. Well, one thing I will say is, as far as special ed is concerned, one thing that we have done as a board is really adopted a strategic planning approach to large problems. And so one of the things that we did several years ago was create a special ed 3-year strategic plan. And that actually helped to save our district millions of dollars as far as the spending, and actually made our system much more effective. One of the things that I think is really important that people understand as a trustee is that it takes 3 votes to get anything done. And ultimately, there are projects I would love to see. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about is to adopt languages in the elementary level. And so we're learning so students are learning from each other instead of waiting till high school. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to get 3 votes to make that happen. And then third, as far as GATE or gifted, we don't necessarily have a GATE program because there's no funding for it at the state level. However, we do have advanced learning opportunities. Thank you.
And I'll say, I've been knocking on doors. The toughest conversations I've had are with parents of special ed kids. And one of them actually gave me a book that was 200 pages long and said, you have to read this. And so we have a serious problem with special education in this district. There's a huge percentage of kids that are in special needs that need IEPs. And it seems like the only way to succeed is to file a lawsuit against the school district. And I know what it takes to get there, and that's unacceptable. So that's a huge problem. The second thing with ELL, again, if you're at the board meeting last month, you saw how badly we failed our students who have language issues and who, English is a second language. Their metrics are off the charts at the bottom. And so again, we've got to focus on getting these kids to read and getting them to help understand. And then at the other end of that, we've got to help these gifted kids. We have to meet them where they are. So if there are kids who are gifted and are far ahead of the others, if we don't provide them with what they need, then they get bored and they get disinterested in school. So we've got to meet everybody where they are in all of these categories, and it's going to take a lot of effort and time.
Sure, the question is, what are your thoughts on Carlsbad Unified School District's programs for special education students, English language learners, and gifted students?
So when I was growing up, I was a limited English speaker. English was not my primary language when I started. And one of the things that I think that really benefits kids, whether they're special needs or EL students, we want to make sure that they're learning in inclusive environments. We want to make sure that they're being mainstreamed in general ed classrooms, given opportunities, and being supported through our special education program. Also, our teachers are very qualified. They have the ability to differentiate their instruction to support different learners in the classroom. And of course, for students that are learning at a different level, maybe they need more challenges, giving them unique opportunities and taking part in unique pathways that would be really beneficial for them and for all students, and also giving them advanced learning opportunities.
So as an educator, I've worked extensively in each of these areas, and I also have personal experience because one of my students, one of my sons, he is both gifted and has some severe learning challenges. And I will say that the school closures, the Zoom school, the forced masking really affected ESL students and special ed students most drastically, and I have been having conversations with the parents of these students that just feel hopeless because they don't see a path to catching up. So that's one thing that we have to have tangible ways we're going to help these students. Also, I was the art chair for the PTA, and we need to have, again, tangible programs, not just, hey, we'll let the gifted kids work ahead, but we need, one thing I've heard in the community is we have brilliant artists, engineers, older people in the community that are retired, and they're telling me as I go to door, they want to get involved. They want to help with clubs. They want to help these students that are either falling behind or gifted, and that's something specifically that I think we can do.
I've had personal conversations also with parents of children with special needs, and what I hear from them is that a lot of people are leaving before they even graduate because they just don't have the resources and they don't feel like they're heard. Again, let's have town hall meetings. Let's bring parents back to the table to tell us what they're needing for their students. Let's provide those resources to our students, to our teachers. Let's bring in qualified help that will be able to provide programs that are going to meet the needs of our special needs, our ELL learners, and our gifted learners. It's hard to meet all these demands, but let's look at what those demands are in our unified school district, and let's be unified as we address this.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Our next question will start with Kathy. What should our school district be doing to ensure the safety of students and staff? Specifically, please share your plans to protect our school communities from school shootings and fentanyl.
We have a lot for 60 seconds. I will say school safety and community safety is incredibly important to me. And one of the things that I did as a board, because of my experience on the board, I was able to bring a resolution forward for safe storage of firearms. Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but what that can do in a community is to remind people to be safe in their homes, as well as provide comfort to the community. During Uvalde, we sent out that reminder, and that just helped our community feel safer and felt comforted. As far as fentanyl is concerned, I share that fear, and I do think communication and education of our parents and of our students, and having that open dialogue with folks rather than just speaking at people. We need to meet them where they are and have a dialogue. Thank you.
So on school safety, I think our district's actually doing a pretty good job. I thought actually they were doing a really good job until 2 weeks ago I witnessed the lockdown at Sage Creek from my backyard because it overlooks Sage Creek. The police department did an excellent job of showing up, of getting on the campus, of clearing it very quickly. The rest of it looked like chaos. The impressions I got from the students and the teachers were that a lot of people needed a little bit more training and to understand what they were supposed to be doing. So I think training would help. I heard Poinsettia had the same issue with just a few issues with people not understanding what they were supposed to do. So I think that, we have secure campuses, we have a lot of rules in place. I 100% support our police and want our resource officers on campus to make sure that our schools are safe. But I think we just need a little bit more training in that regard. In terms of fentanyl, I agree, we just need more education. We just need these kids to know that if they're out there and they are in a situation where they're given a drug, that they need to understand that risk. And they need to understand that these aren't, the drugs that we had when we were kids. These will kill you in a second. And so, I think that's the main thing we need to do with kids.
I think a lot of what we need to do for school safety and with the fentanyl issue is to make sure that we are informing and teaching our school communities about what is happening and with both of those issues. For example, with gun violence, to partner with San Diego for gun prevention, gun violence prevention, and to work with organizations like Moms Demand Action, and informing our communities would help with that. Also, making sure that students and families are aware of what fentanyl does and the impacts it has on our students. Also, I think Carlsbad should continue with doing their walks of campuses with the police department. They do that all the time, and they ensure that our campuses are safe. And teachers and schools have a protocol. They're required to go through emergency drills every month to ensure that kids are safe and staff are safe.
Well, this is why public education is so important. This is a perfect example about why every student needs to have access on campus to a safe space, because some students don't have safety outside of that. And I think education is absolutely crucial, but again, we have to have the tangible impact. So one thing that's really important when it comes to fentanyl, we need to educate the kids, but we also need to give them positive social experiences. So after COVID, there were some behavioral issues at dances, and so the answer was don't let the younger kids go to dances. I don't think that's the answer. Get more people involved, make sure that they're able to be in these positive social environments, and of course, if we can enforce a lot of COVID protocols, we can make sure that we enforce safety protocols on campus. We should never see someone on campus that isn't clear to be there. And I think Carlsbad is doing a really good job in that respect. I'm here to make sure that we continue and we course correct anywhere that we are going a little awry.
So we're hearing that training is very important. Training for our educators, training for our parents, training for our staff, and training our students. So how to respond to emergencies, right? How to respond to a student who might come up and offer you something. Giving them ways to help with social situations on our campuses, primarily our high school campuses with regard to fentanyl. We need to teach our kids at home. Parents, we need to wake up. We need to be aware that these things are in our community. So yes, store our guns safely, teach our kids right from wrong, and encourage them to be good citizens and make good choices. We need to help with mental health awareness, because a lot of these kids have mental health issues, and that's why they're reaching out to these other alternatives. And so we need to bring people in and educate teachers, parents, and students.
I do think that Carlsbad has done an amazing job of making sure that our schools are improving our school safety by through the Measure HH funding. We've been able to install fencing at every school site. We've installed cameras. We've installed gates. We've made it more protected. We've also provided training and support for our teachers and for our staff and for the young people that come through those doors. It's scary though when you go through those trainings. So it's important, I think, also to help our young people talk about what's going on and to support our teachers to help them go through these drills. We have an amazing relationship with our police department, and I think that the continuing education with our students, again, just reviewing what my fellow candidates have said, is it's just important to be talking to your young people, talking to your children about fentanyl use and what it can do to you, and to ensure that they make good choices. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Okay, Scott, we will start with you on this one. Again, in 60 seconds. I know these are challenging.
Four-part question?
Yeah, these are packed with all kinds of stuff, but here you go. Educationally, what is the district doing well? Secondly, what can the district improve upon?
So what the district is doing well is they do have paths and plans to help students improve, and we saw those again. I keep referencing the last school board meeting. They gave 3 use cases of kids that had fallen far behind that were in some of these at-risk categories, and they basically wrapped them in a web of resources over a period of an entire school year, and we're able to get them to improve multiple grade levels at literacy, at math, and get them to where they should be. So we have ways to do that. I think the problem is we don't know if we have enough resources to do that for everybody who needs it. And that's what my question would have been if I was on the board is, well, how many more resources do we need to get all of these kids that same help? And also, do we know how many kids need this help? Is what the problem really seems to be that we don't know how much we're assessing these kids. We're not assessing whether or not they need help and how much help they need. And so I think that's the biggest challenge we have is we know how to fix it, it would appear, but we're just not doing it.
What our district has been doing really well, the teachers are excellent here, and they work really hard to support our students. And so proud of that. And There are benchmark assessments that the district does go through, and they have been working with their students to provide them interventions. The hardest thing with school districts, because it's a public institution, we get our funds through the state, is we want to make sure that our districts are well funded, that Carlsbad is well funded. And it's with that money that we can really provide and support our teachers and our students. Now there's recovery grants that are coming up that we can really look at to support teachers with more support in the classroom, with interventions, supporting students that really need that work. So, a lot of that is really taking a look at what our budget can support.
This is going to be hard to do in 60 seconds because Carlsbad is doing so much well, and I want to echo that really does begin with the teachers. We have excellent teachers. I was able, to attend back to school night in person this year, and it was such a joy, just absolutely blown away by every classroom that I walked into with my students. I will also say that for those students that learn in a different manner or maybe falling behind, Carlsbad Village Academy and Mr. Espinoza are absolute rock stars. They are incredible. The Spanish program, the International Baccalaureate program at Jefferson is incredible. It needs to be expanded, I feel, to other schools. Our athletics, our academics, we are really focused on the right things. As far as improving, we can't forget what happened over the past 2 years. What we need to improve on is what's already happened to our kids. We have to give them a roadmap to recoup socially, emotionally, and academically. We can't just pretend like some of the ways that we failed them over the past 2 years didn't happen.
Like I said in my opening statement, we have great schools, and our board has made sure that we have great schools, and we do have great teachers. We have great families. We have great students. We have people who want what's best for our community. So there's not a whole lot that I can add to that, but that everybody else has already said. I believe that we need transparency. We need to be transparent with those 600 plus families that we've lost. Why have we lost them these last 2 years? If we're not transparent, we're not going to get those families back. And without them, we are losing funds, which provide those resources that we need to make our schools even better.
I think we can all agree that we have some pretty great schools and some excellent teachers here at Carlsbad Unified. But like I always tell my children, we can always improve. We always can do something better. I know people are working hard. We are actually almost back up to the same school population as we were before the pandemic hit. So we actually, I don't know if those families have come back to us, but we are seeing people coming back into the district. They want to be here. I also know that we are interested in wanting to put more innovative programs into place. Our teachers are working really hard. Our district has put money behind strategies that they know work to help with learning loss and recovery. They're doing the work. The summer school started. Folks are working hard. Young people are working hard. We're starting to see recovery. So I'm looking forward to seeing the next set of test results to see if what we're doing is working, but people are out there doing the work. And I want to see more innovation. That's what I think we can do more to improve on. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and I am very proud of our school district, and I think that we can attribute a lot to the teachers as well as our families and our community. Our communities have come to help our students with career technical education, and I think that that's something that we're doing very well, and I'd like to see us really improve upon that as well. We have folks that have been retired that are coming in and helping our students with areas in robotics and those types of things that we need our students to learn. I do believe that we need more money in the classroom. California is still ranked 36th in the nation as far as per pupil funding. And I know I've been criticized for my work with the California Teachers Association, but we are 300,000 strong and continue to support school funding in our communities through Prop 30, through Prop 55, and I've been advocating on this board for us to support those things, and we can continue bringing funding into our schools when we go to renew Prop 55.
Thank you, candidates. That was great. So we're going to transition now. So you can kind of push the mic out of the way a little bit and go for those yes/no panels that we have there. So you have the blue yes and a white no. So these are going to be your. You do not get an it depends. You don't get a maybe, well, if, I don't. No, you don't get to actually verbalize anything. All you get to do is hold up a yes or a no. And I have probably your only softball question of the whole night is first, just to get you warmed up with holding up your paddles, right? This is probably your only softball question. Here it goes. I currently have, or in the past have had, a child attend Carlsbad Unified School District school. All right, clean sweep. Wow, this is so easy. Now it gets really fun. Okay, here we go. Our district here at Carlsbad Unified should, that's the word, should require COVID vaccines for all students who attend. Next question. Do you support school vouchers? Next question. Carlsbad Unified School District's mission statement reads, and we're quoting, "We provide every student an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment." Do you believe that the district is doing that currently? All right, here we go. Okay, good job. Now I need my audience submitted questions. Here we go. It's really fun now. Okay, keep those paddles. We're going to start with, we have a couple that we're going to be able to ask in a yes/no format. So start with those paddles again. So here we go. I'm just seeing these, so give me a second so I can make sure I'm reading it properly. Okay, will you as a candidate commit tonight to support the Carlsbad Unified School District programs that our LGBTQ students depend upon for their health and well-being? Yes or no, please? Yes or no, please?
All students.
All right, let's keep it civil. All right, we're gonna stick with, we got one more yes or no, and then we'll go back to the questions that you can share a little more on. All right, here we go. If you were on the school board, could you support a board decision that you did not personally vote in favor of? A board position passes that you were on the minority side of, but it still passes. Can you support it, yes or no? I know these are tough questions. All right, thank you guys. All right, now we're gonna go, Susan. We're gonna do 60 seconds, and so we're gonna pick up. We'll start with Michelle. I think it's your turn to kick off the first one, and then we'll go down like we have, and we'll just keep rotating as we get through these. All right. What are your top 3 educational priorities for Carlsbad schools?
Top 3 priorities. I want to continue with the great work that the district is doing with innovation and unique pathways. Hoping to see that continue through those pathways can continue from secondary down to middle school and elementary as well. Also support diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want all of our learning environments, all want to support social emotional learning in our schools so we can support the mental health of our students and ensure that not only our physical environments are safe, but still students are feeling and are safe.
Well, my top 3 educational priorities are, again, to put students first, give families a voice, and support educators. And that really involves oversight. So as a trustee, it's going to be very important to me to know exactly what I'm voting for or against, know exactly what the programs and curriculum are, and that's why I held up 2 paddles. Because I have to know what a program is before I can say I will support it. I owe that to you. And you know what, if I vote against something and it looks like, no, this is the way the community's going and it's not harming our students, then yes, I can get behind it, I can be a team player. But if I am someone with, strong ethics, and if something is not the right thing for our students, I will work with people, but I will continue to say I do not think this is right for our community.
I'm for students first, but I'm also for equality for all. And so that question was very confusing and difficult to answer. And again, I agree with Sharon. If the programs that you want and you voice them and we agree or we vote on them, if there's something that I may not see eye to eye on, I'm willing to collaborate. I'm willing to come to the table and I'm willing to be that voice for all parents. I think that we need collaboration. And my views may not be all your views may not be all mine. But I think that we owe it to ourselves and to our students to bring programs to this school to continue to make it a great school district with quality education. Let's focus on education and let's bring the basics back to education.
So I'm a strong supporter of high expectations around education, excuse me. But what I do know about education is it can't happen in a space that's not safe, that doesn't feel safe for kids and for educators. So it's critically important to me to ensure that there is a safe space for young people to go to learn in, and that is important for mental health resources to be available. I felt pretty strongly when that question was asked that I was very much in support of wanting to make sure that LGBTQ students were supported. As I appreciate as well that DE&I is something that we need to be taking a look at and better understand why certain students are not doing as well as other students in our classroom. I also want to make sure we're supporting the educators that are working with our children every day, making sure that they have the resources that they need and making sure that they get the support that they need to be able to create those safe learning environments.
Well, it's going to be a pattern here because I really do believe that career technical education and our career pathways are really where we need to go in the future. I mean, we need to prepare our students for the world of work. And I've been an advocate for a long time that not every student is going to go to college. And we need to make sure that those students that do not want to go to college are prepared to go into work straight out of high school or can get the training that they need. One of the things I'm very proud of is our partnership with Palomar College. Our students can actually get an AA degree when they graduate from high school at the same time. That's something that we have supported as a board. Another piece is life skills. And again, I know that lockdowns were not fantastic. There were some great things that came out of that. As far as, we did some lessons in my household around laundry and around baking and around cooking and around working on our car. So life skills can actually be part of the solution. And we do need to recruit and retain highly qualified educators.
So I'm probably going to repeat myself from what I've said earlier, but top 3 priorities would be first, assessments of students to find out where they are and what they need. The second one would be evaluating our curriculum and finding out what can we improve. I've mentioned, high dosage tutoring. I've mentioned the science of reading. We have curriculum out there that we know works, and we have curriculum now that we know that doesn't work. And our teachers know that. I hear that feedback too. So we need to get that feedback from our teachers, find out what's working, what's not, and try and improve that. And then the third thing is really just deploying the resources that we need. Do we need more teachers? Do we need tutors? Do we need counselors? Do we need that improved curriculum? And let's do it now. We have all this pandemic funding. We don't have to spend it until 2028. By the time we get to 2028, those kids will be gone and we will have failed them. So we've got to spend that money now. And we can't, unfortunately, focus on career pathways and focus on life education if they can't read and if they don't even understand basic science and critical thinking skills. So that's probably something that I would disagree with, is that we've got to focus on that core academic.
Yep.
Sharon, maybe starting our next question. So this question has to do with our teacher shortage. And so basically the question is, how would you address it in trying to help Carlsbad get through it, both like to fix it long term, but to mitigate it short term?
Well, again, I've been going door to door in our community, getting to know our community, and I'm hearing from parents and even grandparents that they want to help, they want to be more involved. And so just during the substitute shortage, one thing I found that was, as soon as we educated people on here are the steps, here's how you can become a substitute teacher and how you can help out, then all of a sudden we saw people getting more involved. So let's try to help educate people how they can get involved, how they can become part of the solution to the problem. But then also, of course, we need to make sure that the funding is focused in our classroom, equipping teachers well, compensating teachers well. This is an incredible school district, and we don't want there to become divisive issues or just so extra stress on the job. We need to have that focus on education and compensation so that teachers are just absolutely stoked to come here and work.
I've had the opportunity to work with teachers. I was a room parent for 12 years with 2 different children, and I know how hard these teachers work. I have several of you who are friends that are in this room, and I can't thank you enough for the dedication that you have given to our children. And you deserve to be supported. You deserve to have pay raises that are appropriate. You deserve to have support with good substitutes, quality substitutes, so that you know that your students are still learning even when you can't be in that classroom. And our parents need to know that too. This is a team effort. And so if we're gonna keep our students, or our teachers, we need to compensate them, and we need to provide the support necessary, and we need to bring back those teachers that have left because they want to address these core subjects and let them teach. Let's let our teachers teach.
I would like to echo what Gretchen said. I certainly know over all these years of working with schools and on different projects and in the classroom as a parent volunteer and also as the PTO president, that our teachers work very hard. Our teachers are committed, dedicated, and they love working in Carlsbad. It's actually a very desirable district. We've been lucky that we haven't been faced with a shortage of teachers here in the district. It's competitive to get in here. We have a great relationship with Cal State San Marcos and their teaching credential program. And we bring folks over here. We have student teachers that are constantly coming through the mix and trying to get assigned here full time. So I think the best way to make sure that we don't have a teacher shortage in Carlsbad is to just continue to create an environment where people want to come and teach. And that means a positive place for teachers to be. Thanks.
As has been noted multiple times, I do work for the California Teachers Association, so I've been working with teachers for over 18 years. And you really need to create an environment where teachers want to be and let them be the professionals that they are. And respect teachers. And we need to make sure that we are creating that environment of respect and of learning, where teachers are usually lifelong learners. And one of the things we have done as a board is we prioritized professional development. We're the only district around that has in their LCAP a percentage of over 85% of professional development satisfaction. And because we respect our teachers. But it's not just our teachers that we need to speak about as well, it's educators, and we have our counselors, we have our speech language pathologists. We have folks in our nutrition services that really need to be respected and to be compensated appropriately.
I'll echo what Jen said. I'm not aware that there's a teacher shortage in Carlsbad at the moment. If there is, that's news to me. However, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do anything to prevent it. When I've talked to teachers, like we've talked about, is they seem like they're burned out, that they're exhausted, and so we need to make sure that we're providing teachers with support, whether that means pulling some kids out for counseling or tutoring, or whatever it takes to make sure that, as some of the others have said, that they remain happy in their job and they want to teach here and feel supported. The one thing I talked about when I met with the teachers union and talked with them with their endorsement committee is there's a huge difference between the floor salary and the ceiling salary for teachers in this district. And so the vast majority of teachers in this district don't get paid enough to live in this community. And so one of the things that we need to do is make sure that the teachers that come in here can be involved in our community and feel compensated and feel like they can live here and be amongst our students and our other parents. And the last thing I'll say is that even the teachers assessed their own teacher development opportunities last week as going down 10%. So we got to help them out with teacher development as well.
Yep. I'm gonna agree with what Scott is saying there, and I just want to say that if we're going to retain great teachers, we need to make sure that they are funded well. And we want them to live in our community because they are part of our community. So I agree with that. To build a positive school culture, we want to make sure that teachers are supported with the resources. If they're working with students that have challenges in class, if there's some interventions or extra support in the classroom. Also giving them collaboration time to work with each other. We are a learning institution, so we want to give them those opportunities. And also just professional development, giving them unique opportunities to learn about what's out there so they can provide that learning for the students.
Thank you so much. So we'll start with Gretchen on this one. And so this question is, how will you support the adult transition program?
Well, again, we need to listen to the parents. I think roundtable discussions about what is happening to our students and what their needs are is super important. So that we can then, and also bring in resources from our community, help them be able to make that next step, that next transition beyond our school district. So that's what I'm hearing from our parents who have children who access these programs, is that they need to be able to complete this program. They don't want to leave our district in order to access those resources. So we need to have those resources here.
As a parent of somebody who is a senior in high school, I am very well aware of that transition time being a vulnerable time to adulthood. And students who are accessing an adult transition program, I know need some additional supports to make sure that they move to the next step. I want to make sure as a board trustee that we're serving all of our students all the way up through adulthood. And it would mean that we would make sure that they have the resources in place and the structures and the supports necessary to make that transition smoothly into the next phase of their life.
This also kind of flows with the last question. We have a director of special education, Director Evanson, who is just incredible, and he deserves a huge shout out because what he's done with our adult education, he deserves applause. I'll cede my time to that for sure. He is an incredible resource that he's been able to help build partnerships again in the community, and that we've been able to, as a board, have been able to provide him with the resources he needs to create, again, learning opportunities, transition opportunities Again, our partners with Palomar College and with Maricosta and other pieces to allow our students in the adult transition program and other special ed students. And we couldn't do that without Director Evanson. So I just, again, give him huge props, and those are the types of people we also need to retain. Great folks like Director Evanson are hard to find, and we have to find a way to keep him on. Thank you.
I think what you see if you look at the graduation rates is our graduation rates are stable, they're up in the 90s, but our literacy, our math assessments are dropping and they haven't come back. So the issue is, are we graduating kids and moving them into these programs when they're not ready and when they need more support? And so I think what my focus would be is, do we need to look at whether or not we need to move more kids into these programs and get them to the point where they are proficient in math and science and reading, instead of giving them a diploma and saying good luck. Because it's clear that we're not getting them to where they should be in order to graduate. And if you look, at the last board meeting, when we looked at the different, racial groups and the different, homeless groups and where they were far below in their actual proficiency, but their graduation rates were up in the 90s. So why are we graduating those kids and pushing them along when they clearly aren't ready to be out in the world with whatever career or college pathway they are? So it's likely that we're going to need to expand that program too.
Adult transition programs are so valuable, especially for students that are certificate bound, to give them an opportunity. And that's the great thing about public education. Public education gives students that are on this pathway an opportunity to learn life skills and give them success in our community. So absolutely support adult transition programs and want to continue to see our district provide support and resources for that program.
I was just speaking with a mom whose student is in this program, and oftentimes what I hear from parents that their student is in a specific program that's so essential to them is they just ask, will you protect the funding for this program? To them, that is the most important thing, is to make sure that the rug isn't pulled out from under the foot of their student. And so that is absolutely crucial. My husband and I actually met working at a school for the visually impaired, and a lot of the kids there had extreme disabilities and were there into adulthood. And so I've worked in that realm. I know how crucial it is, but I just want to say, in order to be able to fund these essential programs, we have to make sure there's no waste. We have to make sure there's fiscal responsibility so that all of these essential programs can continue to be funded, and so the staff can be fairly compensated, whether they're credentialed or classified.
Okay, thank you, Candace. That was everyone, right? Yeah, okay, so Jen, we'll start with you on this one. What will you do as a trustee to foster civil discourse in Carlsbad Unified School District?
We're having some civil discourse today, yes.
Yes.
It's been civil as far as I can tell. I think civil discourse is critical. I think democracy in action is people coming out, talking to candidates, us going door to door, talking to voters, having the opportunity to share your views, whether they are different or the same, and teaching our children to do the same. Within the classroom environment, I would imagine that there's a variety of opinions and ideas about how the way that the world works. And I would hope that we're teaching our children the best way to be able to speak with one another, to be respectful of one another's viewpoints, experiences, life stories, and to be able to form an understanding of where people are coming from. And that requires also, I think, to think about teachers being prepared to host those discussions, those facilitations. It's not an easy thing to host. So being able to support teachers to do that would be important.
One of the things that I'm very proud of on our school board for the last 8 years, and one of the things that I was able to get from Rick Grove, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, is that we can disagree without being disagreeable. And I think that that's something that I've tried to live by for the last 8 years on the school board. As well as our governance team handbook. We have worked very hard. We have put together that handbook, we update it, we review it year over year, and we actually even keep placards that are on the dais that remind us to ensure that we have civil discourse, to remind us that we are in a business meeting that's conducted in public. So it is really about, it's not about performing, it's not about making sure we're heard, but making sure that we are doing the business of the school district. So that needs to be first and foremost as a trustee.
So as someone who filed a lawsuit against the school district in the state to get them to listen to us, I can tell you we need a lot more civil discourse, because things like that never should have happened. We need town halls. We need town halls where the school board gets all the parents up here and lets everybody speak instead of limiting them to 30 seconds of public comment. And then if the school board is going to present something to the school district and to the parents, then we need to have both sides, up here being, able to present their side. So we do need civil discourse, and we have not had that. It's very clear. And we need the board to change their policy as well, because we're electing 5 board members, and if you email them, their board policy is not to email you back and have the superintendent do it instead. I have never met an elected official who has an official policy to not respond to voters. So if we want more civil discourse, we've got to, actually engage in that discourse. And that means town halls, that means board members who communicate with their constituents and respect parents and teachers and students alike and let everybody talk.
I think the key word in civil discourse is being civil. I think that is really important. I think with all the issues that came up with COVID, I'm going to tell you, as a site administrator, it was hard. And it was hard for everybody. It was hard for families, for students. It was hard for teachers and staff workers and principals and administrators. It was tough. And I think that civil discourse is very much important. We have a group of students that are sitting in the back there learning all about it right now. So I value that, and I think it's important, but I also think it's important that we're being kind, and we're being respectful, and that we're listening. And if you're coming to a school site and you're not being kind, that makes things very difficult during a very difficult time. So I know that was hard for everybody. It was hard for everybody in the entire world. Millions of people died. So we want to make sure that if there are issues that come up, that we are listening and that we are being kind to one another.
We are a diverse community, and that is our strength. I want to echo what Scott said about the board policy. I want to echo what Michelle just said about respecting each other and being kind. And so I think, one of the most important things that we can do is make sure that there is open communication with our academic community and our parents, but also that the mental health is supported of our students. And I want to be clear, I support mental health services for all students. I'm not going to limit it to one group of students. I support it for all students. However, anything that we support our students in needs to have the involvement and the full disclosure with parents. I will never vote for something that I don't have full disclosure on what my vote is. And I think there's a few things here that maybe weren't yes or no questions, but I will always advocate and I will request, if I don't have enough information, then I'll request more info so that I can serve you well. And I'm going to use this as an example. I would love if we talked about e-bike safety. Let's have some civil discourse on that.
Yeah.
Civil discourse is important. Strong communities embrace transparency and trust, and they embrace cooperation and civil discourse. And I think, having felt marginalized these last 2 years as a parent with children who are struggling, hearing the stories that were going around, yes, we have to be civil, but we need to be heard. And that's why I'm running I have a lot of things to do with my time. And I teach, I educate, I advocate, but I am here because I believe in civil discourse also. And I believe we need to have roundtable discussions which bring everyone's voices to the table. I agree with Scott, and we need to open up this community and listen to its people, our stakeholders.
Thank you so much, Janet. So I appreciate all your participation tonight. We're going to go to our closing statements. So Susan will do 90 seconds. So you'll each get 90 seconds to share. If we've missed something that you wanted to cover, please feel free to use your time and tell us why we should vote for you this November. And we're starting, it would be Kathy's turn to start. So we'll start with you, Kathy.
Thank you, and thank you again to all of you for being here and for engaging in this forum. Before I arrived today, I just took a look at Zillow, for instance, and the realtors describe our schools as highly rated, excellent, and award-winning. And I want to make sure that we keep it that way. And I believe that the way we keep it that way is to make sure that we recruit and retain our highly qualified teachers, our educators, and our staff. One of the things that we need to understand is that our folks need to have a clear environment that they can innovate, that they can feel free to fail, and that they can educate our students to the best of their ability. I do believe that our district is an incredible district, and I do think that there are stark differences on this panel. And I do believe that we need to educate ourselves on the platforms, on where people are coming from, their long-term commitment to our schools, and if they can bring experienced, responsible leadership to our district. And I do believe that I can continue that on our board, and I encourage you to visit my website, reelectrawlings.com, and make sure you vote by November 8th. Thank you.
So I'll reiterate, my priorities that I've gone over many times and talk about the reason why we need to restore faith and trust in our public schools. And that's because we are facing a fiscal cliff. The district has made it clear. If we don't get students back into this district, we're going to be facing budget cuts and layoffs starting next year. So if we don't message normal, if we don't help our students recover now and message that to our community, then they're not going to come back, right? And like I said, I've been knocking on doors. Those kids are still here. They say, oh yeah, my kid's now over at Santa Fe. My kid's now over at Tri-City. My kid's at Cathedral Catholic. So we need to get those kids back because that's funding for us. And so if we want to avoid that cliff, then that's where we have to focus our time and energy on. I think Kathy gave me the perfect opportunity to really message how we put faith and trust back in the school board and back in our public schools, which is, I think Kathy should absolutely do all of those things that she said about helping get quality teachers and quality staff and high-paid staff into our school district, but that's her job on the CTA.
Yeah.
So when we go to the negotiation table, she should be over there negotiating for those great teachers, and I should be over here negotiating for fair compensation, but for what's best interest for the students. And so that's the biggest really issue we have in this campaign. I'm going to be advocating for the students first, and I think Kathy should be advocating for the teachers first, but on the other side of the table in her job at the CTA.
That's right. That's right.
Appreciate that.
I want to say thank you to the Chamber, and I want to say thank you to Sean and the PTA. I thank you for organizing this and giving everybody a chance to hear us. Public education gives every student an opportunity to be successful. Whether they are low socioeconomic, whether they have special needs, it gives them the resources to level that playing field so they can be successful in our community. And we want to support that. That's important. It's important for all of our kids, and it's important for our families. And I support public education. As a school board member, I want to listen to all of our stakeholders. I want to listen to our community and hear what you have to say. And that's important because it's good to hear from our unions, from our parent groups, from our communities. It's important to have those voices because we need to know what's happening in the classroom. We need to know how parents are feeling and families are feeling. So that's all valuable information that we can take and help us in our decision making. So I hope that I can have the opportunity to do that, and to also, as a school board member, to really take a close look at what we really need. I want to make sure that all students are supported. I want to make sure that our teachers and staff members are supported in the classroom and they have the resource that they need.
I just want to say thank you to the community, to the chamber, to the PTA. This has been an incredible conversation. You all know my priorities. It's to put students first, to give parents a voice, and to support educators. But as a mama, I can't have any blind spots, so I can't let us leave here without talking about e-bike safety. Our kids can't have an excellent educational experience if they can't get to and from campus safely, and a lot of families are depending on e-bikes to get them there. So short term, I would right away work to get bike lanes in the drop-off and pickup, make sure that the areas where kids are parking their bikes are safe, working with staff to have them work with city council, make sure we can do everything we can to have the roadways safe, and have our kids educated on the correct way to ride e-bikes. So I just had to make sure I shared that with you all tonight. I know I'm hearing from the community that is really on everyone's hearts. You have heard my heart, and if you didn't like what I had to say or you had questions or concerns, please come up and talk to me. I am all about dialogue. Please don't take a sound bite or any a bit of confusion. As your trustee, I want to represent you. I want to dialogue with you, whether you're a teacher or a parent. And then, of course, please check out my website. It's just Sharon, the number 4, carlsbadschools.com. My social media is on there. We have wonderful community events coming up, tie-dye in the park, a pool party. Get involved, even if you're not sure how you feel yet. And I will tell you, this is about community. It's not about politics. We're going to make sure it's fun, and we're going to make sure that we put students first.
Thank you.
I'm excited for the opportunity to serve you on this board and to represent your voice and your concerns as we work together to promote policies that foster academic excellence, sound fiscal management, and safe school environments where every student can safely thrive and achieve their greatest potential. My upbringing, my education, my experience as a teacher, and my volunteer opportunities and experiences have provided me with a perspective and a skill set that I believe will serve you well as your next school board trustee for Area 4. Our children deserve a quality education in a safe school environment. We've talked a lot about that, where every student has the opportunity to thrive, every student, and to achieve to their greatest potential, whatever that potential is. A public school education should provide our students with critical thinking skills. Parents should know what their children are being taught in school. Transparency in curriculum will foster positive relationships with teachers and ensure that the content that they're teaching is preparing our students with critical thinking skills to serve them beyond graduation, to thrive in any setting. We need board members who are not influenced by special interest groups. We need
Time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again to the Chamber and to the CUC for hosting this evening. It's an amazing thing to see people come out to learn more about what's going on with the school board. I will say, I know it's exciting now, but it's not tremendously glamorous work when you're sitting on the school board. It is truly the business of the district. And it's wonderful to see this many people in attendance here. I hope in the future we can see this many people attending the school board meetings. You know, what's most important to me is to make sure that people know that I have done this work I have been working and advocating for young people throughout the state for most of my life. And I have worked within the Carlsbad School District as well. I know the Carlsbad School District personnel, the superintendents. I've worked with teachers all these years, and I know how to work across stakeholder groups. I think there is actually transparency in some of the work that we do, and we do have an amazing district. I don't want you to walk away thinking that there's that many problems going on in the district. We have amazing things happening here, and very hardworking people doing the work. I really do want to focus on career pathways and innovative programs. Of course, we want to make sure that our core curriculum is being taught and that young people are graduating, that should be graduating with the skills that they need. But it's also about future focused and looking toward where are we going next. So thank you again for coming out. Make sure you check out all our websites.
All right. Thank you everybody for joining us. Candace, thank you so much for being here and making yourself available to participate in this. We really appreciate it. Thank you for being a great audience. God bless. Good night.